Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Jessica Nelson, and I'm faculty here within the Department of Nursing at St. Joseph's College. So, welcome. So, over my years of teaching at St. Joe, I work with a lot of students in both the undergraduate and graduate levels that have questions regarding plagiarism, their writing, how their writing progresses into what we call scholarship or scholarly writing. And, exactly what this little thing is on their paper is called a similarity index and Turnitin. So I want to briefly go over a couple of important things with you. I'm going to cover three topics, really. I'm going to tell you and define what plagiarism is today. I'm going to teach you when submitting papers at St. Joe how to avoid plagiarizing anything in your work. And then I'm going to go over exactly what Turnitin is and how you can benefit as a resource as a student here at St. Joe. So first, what is plagiarism? So in the simplest of words, plagiarism is really copying the words or ideas of others without giving them credit. That's presenting someone else's work as your own, right? In the basic formality, it is cheating. It's theft. And so we really want to avoid any kind of theft here within the academic world. And so there's a couple of things that we can do to avoid plagiarizing. So when you're developing your papers or those large projects in any kind of course here at St. Joe, I want you to remember, really three things to avoid plagiarizing, just things to keep, to be mindful about, especially with your sources, especially when you're doing research papers. And that's really keeping track of your research before you write. So, keeping the journal articles in front of you, maybe even using a citation management tool that may be important, but simply keeping your research articles there in front of you. A really good habit to get away from is even having anything electronically up beside the paper that you're writing, because it's so easy just to go over and copy maybe a brief sentence or two in that research article and then dragging it over. So I found that a lot of times when I'm working on my papers, even when I was a student, I would print those research articles out. I would have them beside me. I would read through them, get the general idea of what was being said, and then take that information and then type it out in words of my own. Again, avoiding as much as possible. Sometimes I'd even flip that journal article over because I didn't want to take anything word for word, not even two or three words. So another big thing you want to do is you want to try to avoid direct quoting as much as possible as well. A good general rule of thumb on any kind of academic paper is no more than one direct quote per page, and even that's pushing it. Why? Direct quoting in the basic forms is easy, right? We can simply take a direct quote, plop it on our paper, and be like, that sounds great. But what's harder is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is more important to me as an educator, as an instructor, because I want to know that as you're sitting there as a student, as you're typing these ideas out, as you're connecting the dots for your content in your course and meeting those course outcomes, is that you understand exactly what that author was trying to convey, and you're putting it into your own words and then putting it together with the rubric of your paper and meeting those paper outcomes. So paraphrasing, much, much stronger writing, developing for you as a scholarly writer, a lot easier to direct quote. So again, a good general rule of thumb is avoiding any kind of direct quotes unless it's just incredibly impactful that you simply could not put it into your own words without being as insightful or impactful. But again, if you take something word for word, even if you paraphrase those general ideas, you have to give credit where credit is due. So within the Department of Nursing, we use what's called APA 6th edition. You all should have that handy manual right beside you at all times. And there are basic instructions and formatting that must be followed to give credit when you paraphrase and when you direct quote. In your beginning classes, you're going to be giving a lot of tools, a lot of education, a lot of feedback on making sure that as you progress throughout the program, you're using that APA correctly and you're giving credit where it's due. So we all know that it's a learning process, but we certainly want you checking before, in the middle, and the end when you're writing that paper. So again, if you follow some of those tips, it may help you when you're starting to develop your skills as a writer. And one additional tool that you have, aside from your APA 6th edition, after you kind of put in the time and effort into making sure that you're looking at those research articles, you're looking at sources, and then you're citing them correctly in your paper, one last effort that you have to avoid any kind of plagiarism is a software called Turnitin. And all of the courses here at St. Joe, should you drop something in the Dropbox, has Turnitin enabled. And Turnitin is a great software. It checks originality, and it prevents plagiarism because it basically looks for citation mistakes, inappropriate copying. So when you submit your paper, what it does is it puts everything into this massive database. It looks at prior student work, it looks at your own work in prior classes, it looks at websites and books and articles. And so what it does is it looks for same match text. So what it's doing is it's helping you. It's a preventive measure to show you, hey, look what we found. We matched this text to another reference or another citation elsewhere. So what you're going to find when you go in and drop your assignment into the Dropbox is you're going to see a similarity index. And every professor here, every instructor at St. Joe's is a little bit different on how they use the tool when they see your paper. But a general rule of thumb is anything over 15, 20% is going to what we call a flag. So you're going to see a red, you're going to see a yellow, and a green. What we want is green, right? Sometimes we may see a little bit of yellow, but more importantly than that number that pops up is that you get in after your paper is submitted and that similarity index is revealed. Get in and look at your paper. If it's lit up like a Christmas tree, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 words clumped together, if you've got a large section lit up close together, you as a student can go in and look at that and fix it prior to your final due date of that paper. So we always encourage you to get in and submit your papers ahead of time, particularly your drafts. Get in there and look, and you can figure out, wow, look, I really tried to avoid this, but it looks like I took, too much from this one source. I can get in there, I can edit this paper, and I can submit it before the due date, and I can make sure that I've used this as a resource for myself before my instructor sees it. So we always encourage you to use the Turnitin software as many times as you like and within any course here at St. Joe. It's just a great habit to get into. A lot of students may see it as an opportunity for instructors to penalize them, but that's not the case. We certainly don't want to see any kind of match text, so we really encourage you to use this tool. One other thing that I want to bring to light that's also really important is that students, when we define plagiarism, students sometimes get a little confused about, well, is my own work in a prior class, if I should reuse that or recycle it for a course and maybe mix some things up, can't I use my own work because it's my own work? Is that plagiarism? Yes, it is. Because in each course, in each paper, in each assignment, it's supposed to be an independent submission, okay? And so by copying and pasting or recycling another assignment from another course or maybe from another student, it's still considered plagiarizing. So again, remember, every course here at St. Joe is a new, original approach, and we want new, fresh ideas. So even though you may have covered a topic in another course, take another whack at it, take another spin on it. Don't just recycle work from other courses. One, it's not original, and two, it doesn't give you the opportunity to practice those scholarly writing tips and to reinvent yourself as an author every single time you have a course. But we want to see effort into ideas. We know writing is hard, and we know as you progress from the undergraduate level into the graduate level, practice makes perfect, right? And a lot of us aren't great writers, but we can certainly improve every step of the way. So I hope this has been a little educational for you. I hope it's helped, and I look forward to seeing everyone use the resources. So happy writing, everybody. Bye-bye.